Well, Commissioner of the Border Authority there, from the little, of course, we were able to, or I was able to pick up, the border post is now going to be reopened, albeit partially. This is to allow empty trucks that need to come back. But of course, someone who was part of that briefing is my colleague Nqobile Madlala, who we cross to now live. Nqobile, I could only pick up the latter part of what Commissioner Masiapato had to say about the fact that they are going to partially reopen the border post to allow empty trucks to be able to come back. Take us through whatever else that he had to say before we were able to across to you.
Well, Vuyo, I do actually want to bring him into this conversation, but before we do bring him to the conversation, I want to show you that gate that's fully open. So those people that you see right in front of us are people that work as part of the hands that have opened. So they work for the Department of Public Works, and their job is, of course, to ensure that the mechanism and the works that's taking place here does take place swiftly. We understand that this gate hasn't opened in years, which makes it very difficult then to operate. So they have been put on standby to ensure that they can open the gate. A little earlier on, right in the middle there, we saw some of the teams between Mozambican and South Africans having a delegation speaking about the importance of opening up. So if you look at the fact that they were speaking about the fact that their infrastructure was affected, and they did explain to us that at kilometer 4, this is where the infrastructure was destroyed. So they were going to work on that. And as a result, they then said they're asking for a little bit more time so that they can gather themselves that side and they're able to then open. So that conversation then leading up to this conversation that we're seeing with the Commissioner telling us that they have agreed that at 3 o'clock they will be able to open. You will remember that there's some Mozambican that has been stuck in South Africa, some of them who are doing groceries within the area, and this is why then they are helping. Commissioner, I just want us to perhaps brief those that have not heard you. Are we officially opened?
Yeah, so what we have done, and Nqobile, we have done a partial reopening of the port. We have just reopened the port now. We call it partial reopening because we are primarily looking at the movement of people, but not as yet the movement of cargo. The issue is why the difference. Firstly, in terms of the movement of people, the Mozambican side are ready in terms of the processing of people. It is for that reason that we are able to get people to start moving. But however, because we cannot guarantee the security aspect, we still don't want to encourage South Africans who want to go for holiday or anything to come through. We are encouraging Mozambicans who want to go back home to come through for going back home. That is the main issue. Now, in terms of cargo, we have a problem whereby on the Mozambican side, they are still not yet ready in terms of their systems at kilometer 4 to be able to process cargo. So they are busy reinstalling their computers, reinstalling their networks, and that is the reason why we are not as yet allowing cargo to go through. But we are allowing the return of our empty trucks.
All right, so does that mean, and we can hear it already because on the side I can hear some of the trucks that are coming into South Africa. What does that mean? Does that mean some of the truck drivers that were that side now get a chance to go home?
Yeah, so that is basically what it means. What it means is that all of these trucks that you can hear the sound, these are empty trucks that had been stuck on the Mozambican side, and they are South African registered trucks. So for those kind of trucks, when they come back, there is not much customs work that is done on them because they are not bringing any cargo. They are just empty, and that is why we allow them to come back. So that is the reason why you're hearing them. But we also have an issue, by the way, that there are some trucks that were kind of vandalized in kilometer 4. So we are also going to allow a process where the tow trucks are going to go in, go pick them up and be able to tow them back into South Africa.
And the ones that have been waiting here for quite some time to be able to pass into Mozambique, what happens to them in the meantime?
See, in the meantime, unfortunately, because Mozambique is not ready to receive them, that one we have to be waiting until they are able to give us some guidance. But I was talking to the Director of Customs in South Africa, in SARS, Mr. Theron. He then indicated that there are a lot of other options they are looking at regarding the whole issue. over and above helping the Mozambicans to be ready on that side to be able to process cargo. So those discussions are ongoing, and in the next few hours or 24 hours or so, we should have a clear way forward on what to do when it comes to the movement of cargo from South Africa into Mozambique, ultimately into Maputo port.
And I remember earlier on we spoke about the importance of business, because as they sit there, that's business losing a lot of money, which has been estimated to the billions. In this conversation, have they been able to be part of the conversation in terms of how to open, when to open, how it's going to go?
Yeah, remember, yesterday during the night around 7 o'clock, we had a Teams meeting with the Freight Forwarders Association, under the CEO, Dr. Mare. So in that conversation, we're starting to look at the various options. There is no any doubt about the reality that they're losing money as business. And we agree, we sympathize with that. But unfortunately, because of the situation, it becomes very difficult. So we have conversations with them. They're part of this whole discussion, because in any event, it is in their interest for the issue to be resolved. That is why now, with the stability that we are guaranteed that side, we should be able to do the admin. And the admin in this instance is just for the Mozambicans to be ready in terms of their systems. Once they are ready, we will be able to reconvene, to reopen fully.
And just lastly, because earlier on they did say that they were still concerned that maybe something would happen, even though highlighting that it would be the 7th day today, which means the strike or the protest is completely gone. Is there now, are they stable enough? Are they saying South Africans are okay now, we can continue into Mozambique?
Yeah, you see, when we had the conversation with the leadership of customs as well as the leadership of immigration, they did indicate that from where they are sitting, things had fairly stabilized. We had also been able to talk to some of the leaders in the law enforcement space to understand how the situation is. And on that basis, they did indicate that things are stable compared to the past 7 days. So the fact that yesterday was the last day, it looks like people followed through on that particular timeline to say that yesterday was the last day, because today they did indicate that things had actually stabilized. So on that particular basis, we can agree that if indeed that is the case, then we should be able to resume full operations. It's just that they need to get their systems ready.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for speaking to us. Well, that is the Commissioner. We are just emphasizing, of course, that even though the border is now partially open, they're still discouraging any South African to move that side until everything is completely cleared. But we understand that now Mozambique has made a commitment, and as you can see, the border is now open, and they have started their processes that side. We have some of the people that are working from South African side, officials that are also on site this side, ready to receive people from Mozambique.
Nqobile Madlala there speaking to the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, who of course has told us that the Lebombo border will now be reopened, albeit partially, and this is to allow for certain trucks and goods and people to move in and out, but this is only partially, but also subject to the Mozambican side of the border also getting ready for that particular task.